Hi, I'm Quinn Lemley with Secrets of the Stage. This is the place where we pull back the curtains and we dive into the creative process. And today I am so excited because I have my dear friend Ron Karr, who is the author of The Velocity Mindset, and he's also the past president of National Speakers Association and is a world-renowned coach and speaker. Ron, welcome.
Thank you, Quinn.
I'm so excited to have you here.
Too.
Now tell me.
Yes.
What is the velocity mindset?
Yeah, everybody keeps asking me that question. So Quinn, when you hear the word velocity, what's the first word that comes to your mind?
Volume.
Volume. Okay.
Collagen. No. Right.
Volume, but also speed, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Speed.
And when I ask my audiences, they all yell speed and some yell volume. But that is not velocity.
It's not?
No.
Well, what's the secret, Ron?
This
is Secrets of the Stage. We need the secrets.
I know. If that's all it is, then you get burnout. Let me give you an example. You're running really fast. You're trying to get through your to-do list, right? And you're going, and after 10 hours, you're totally exhausted, but you're so happy, you checked off every line, and then you sit back and you say, what did I really accomplish? And you didn't move the needle forward. The reason you didn't move the needle forward is because you were just using speed, but you had no direction. You see velocity, the physics definition, speed with direction. Where are you trying to go to the destination? For example, if you went to Newark Airport and you intended to go, let's say, to Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
And you saw the pilot getting on the plane. You said, hey, where are we going? He says, wherever the winds take us.
I would be very nervous.
And would you stay on that plane?
No,
No.
I would not.
No.
Unless it was first class. No, I'm just kidding.
But if he said Fort Lauderdale, you knew you were going the right plane.
Right.
The reason I'm bringing this up is pilots don't ask themselves where we're going. They say, what's the final destination? Fort Lauderdale. And they start their way back.
Okay.
They find the 3 waypoints, so they know if they're over those points flying, they're on their way to Fort Lauderdale. They take into account storms, and they come up with the safest and fastest way to get there.
Okay.
The reason why direction is so important is because if you don't have your goal, your purpose, the thing that you're driving to in your mind at all times, then you possibly will be doing actions that don't support that.
Right, that's true. We talk about purpose a lot on this show.
Right. Purpose should be driving your actions, not your to-do list.
Okay, can you give an example?
Sure. So let's say an entrepreneur knows that their sales cycle, meaning how many conversations it takes to close a new client, let's say it's 5 calls or 5 conversations.
Okay.
And if I ask that entrepreneur, what's your goal for the first call, what are they likely to say to me?
Close the deal,
Close
probably.
the deal.
Probably.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Close the deal.
But no, you have to dance. You have to foxtrot a little bit.
Yeah, but is that a valid goal for the first call?
No.
If it takes 5 calls to close it. And if you use that as your purpose, then you're going to do the wrong actions. You're going to talk too much, you're going to close too much, and...
Right, you have to dance a little.
You have to dance a little, but it's all about them. It's not about you.
Right.
You have to ask better questions.
Right, like what are better questions?
Well, first of all, the right goal for the first call would be to qualify whether they're good for me and I'm good for them, and then together create a path forward.
Do you think that a lot of times people are so busy, especially entrepreneurs, are so busy just wanting to close the deal that they forget about whether or not it's a good fit?
Yes, but they're more self-focused. You see, you can be self-focused or client-focused. The problem is when we go into an account, we drown ourselves in our own stories, whatever we're going through. Oh, it's been a tough month. I got to make my mortgage payment. I got to do this. I got to buy the car. I got a daughter getting married. Whatever is going on in your life.
My daughter's getting married. Oh no, Alea's getting married. My daughter.
Whatever is going on, you need money.
Right.
And so all of a sudden you're looking at that new prospect as saying the answer to your problem.
Right.
Is that self-focused or client-focused?
Self-focused.
Of course.
Yeah.
Which means that if that's the mindset you're going into, you're going to be doing nothing more than talking about things that are not of interest, and you're not going to go anywhere.
Right. Okay, I like that. So, but there's more to that with the velocity mindset.
Right. You know, I specialize in sales and leadership. So one of the things I tell my audience is why when someone asks you for a proposal, you immediately do it. Why?
Because it's hot. And,
Because-
and they asked you, they requested it.
But how do you know
for
it's
it.
hot?
Well, they requested it.
Well, do you think that they're actually going to read it word for word?
No, but they'll get the overall
Could it be an
gist.
excuse that they said, give me a proposal just to move on with the day? So I had this client, $8 million company in Virginia. They did 650 proposals in a year.
Wow.
And
That's a lot of proposals.
and they're very technical. So they can take between 1 hour and 2 days. And I said to the CEO, why are you doing this? I mean, at that time they were using fax machines. Anytime a quote came over a fax, they went to do it. When I convinced them that they should be qualifying better and then using those engineers not on false proposals, but spending time on site, helping the clients who are really their ideal client get really good results, we went down from 650 proposals to 450 in the
Wow.
next year, and they went from 8 million to 16 million.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
Well, that's the power of your coaching, too.
It's the power of the velocity mindset
Yes, of
and
the-
my coach.
Yes, yes. Well, I want to play the tape of the
Okay.
Velocity Mindset, you on the big stage.
Definitely.
Okay.
Picture this, you've just bought a very expensive machine for your factory. You put 10 units through it a week. But now what if you put 100 units through the machine? Your profitability goes up, right? But we only have the same amount of time, 24 hours in a day. So the question is, how can we put more through our machine, us? Think about this. If you can find out the specific issues, what motivates that customer to buy, can you see how that's going to be more powerful? Can you also see how that's going to be faster? So the only way you're going to do more and sell more is if you gain velocity.
That is so fabulous.
Thank you.
So, what is one question that you could reposition? What, give me some examples
So-
of,
so-
of changing the perspective.
Absolutely. So I'll do it with you if that's okay.
Okay, okay.
All right, so let's suppose I bring you up on stage, I bring two people up,
Okay.
and they're playing some kind of sales situation. So in this situation, let's suppose that you are the entrepreneur.
I am the entrepreneur.
Yes. And I'm the person you want to do business with.
Okay.
You make it up. Who am I? What do I represent? And then we'll just start the conversation, see what happens.
Okay. What is your season like? What kind of shows are you presenting this year? I'm an artist,
yeah,
right? So,
we're doing a couple of musicals and a couple of serious dramas.
do you have like any themes, specific themes?
Sure. How to get rid of the stories that don't suit you.
How to get rid of the stories that don't suit you?
Right.
Can you give me an example of
Sure.
what that would be?
So we're going to stop for a second.
Okay.
Okay. I want you to play that director, let's say, or that. What title was I that you were? speaking?
Executive director?
Okay, great.
Okay.
I want you to play the executive director.
And you're going to be me without the red hair.
And without the red hair.
Right.
And I will replay what you just said.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So how's your season?
It's good. I'm, getting it together.
And what do you got going on for the season?
Stories that, where people have failure and then there's a win.
Cool.
Yeah.
And
New musicals.
good. And the theme?
The theme? Empowerment.
Okay, let's stop.
Okay.
Cortisol is a hormone we all have in our brain.
Okay.
It's the fight or flight hormone. You can't get rid of it.
Okay.
The question is, are you creating a safe environment for the person you're trying to influence to have a great conversation with you? Okay? Mm-hmm. So, cortisol, if it's at a 1 or 2 level, you're not really engaged, but you're not really upset. You're just sitting there.
Right.
If you're at 3 to 5, you're really engaged and you're getting involved. 6, 7, you start saying, oh, is this really for me? And what's this about? And then 8 to 10, you're totally disengaged and you're checking out emotionally or physically.
Okay.
So at the moment we started the conversation, right? You knew that I wanted to sell myself to you.
Right,
Right?
right.
Where was your cortisol? Were you really engaged or were you a little
I was
hesitant?
hesitant.
So you're at the 6 or 7 level, right?
Right.
And when I started asking you those status-based questions, how many shows you got going on this year, what kind of shows, what's your theme, what happened to your cortisol?
It kind of went down.
It really wasn't in the 3 to 5 range that you need, right?
Right.
Where someone's like really into it, right?
Right. So how do I switch it?
We're gonna do it again.
All right.
Quinn, how are you today?
I'm great.
I see you got a few shows that are new that are opening up this year. So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tell me something. If you look back a year later from today, and you look back on the season, and you said, "Wow, this has been really successful."
Yes.
What are 3 things that you would want to see to realize it was successful?
I'd like my shows to be groundbreaking, and I want there to be hype over them, not just entertainment.
Stop. At that moment, when I asked you that question, what happened inside your brain?
I got excited.
Were you as excited when I asked you how many shows you had before?
No.
Were you as excited when I asked you about your theme?
No.
But when I asked you about what the 3 things you wanted to achieve this year, you got excited.
Yes, because I have goals.
You
Purpose.
have goals.
Purpose.
It's about where you're trying to go.
Right.
So in the human body, there's 2 parts that you want to look at for influence, heart and mind.
Right.
Mind is where you compare products and services and see if they want it. Mind is where they look at a town as the right town. The heart is an emotional connection. If you don't get them emotionally connected first, whatever you're saying doesn't land with impact.
Right.
How do you get them emotionally connected?
How? Tell us the
By
secret.
asking them where they're trying to go.
I love that.
And then the second thing is, what are the 3 biggest challenges? And then when you have them tell you all that, and you have them clarify and explain, then you present why you're the best solution in context to what they just shared with you. And it'll be a much more powerful presentation.
Let's talk about your tenure as the president of the National Speakers Association. What a huge position, and it's an international position that you served.
Well, yeah, first of all, the National Speakers Association is where professional speaking was born, the movement, and then other countries liked the concept. They'd come to our meetings, but then they formed their own conventions. So when I was president, we not only went to our chapters, but we went around the world and opened up their conventions, because we were considered the Grand Poobah at that time.
You're still the Grand Poobah.
And it was fun. It was an amazing experience. I made friends that I would never have made around the world if I didn't do this. And, there was a poignant moment that I'll never forget.
Tell me the moment.
I was in Germany, and I had a host, and I called him up, and I said, Axel, it seems like the conference ends on a Saturday night. And it's in, I forgot the name of the city, but it's right where Dachau was. And I said, can you turn me on to a private tour guide that you would trust that can take me there the next day? And he said, Ron, no, you cannot go alone. I'll go with you.
Wow.
And I'm going, you can't go with me. You live on the other side of Germany. So we went, we saw the whole thing. It was devastating. And I'm thinking, I wonder where his parents were, what side they were on. I know what mine were. Anyway, we were done, and we sit on this bench, and I asked him, are you okay? And he goes, yes. He goes, are you okay? And I go, yeah. And I thought about Cavett Robert at that moment. Cavett was the founder of the NSA. He had no idea this was going to explode into a worldwide movement. And I was just thinking there that there's one guy's idea, what he would think if someone that was Jewish and had some casualties, from World War II in his family, and someone who was on the other side coming together, becoming lifelong friends, and changing the way that story is written. It was so.
He would love it. I mean, he's such a positive influence on so many people.
It was extremely powerful.
Wow, that's incredible.
And it just goes to show you that if you really want to connect with people, whether you're influencing as an entrepreneur or as a creative talent, you influence through stories.
Yes.
Because that's where the emotional connection is.
Yes, yes, it's the same. And I was so privileged to be able to be part of Influence this year at your foundation, the National Speakers Foundation dinner, and I got to perform and we raised
you were
money.
Great.
Thank you.
They loved you.
But the quality of speakers that you're dealing with, the heavy hitters, Les Brown and Patricia Fripp, and I mean all of these incredible new thought leaders in terms of speaking. How does it feel to be on the big stage with people of that level?
Well, let me rephrase that a little bit. what was I thinking about when I was voted in as vice president and realized that I had to be the leader of all these people? That was the most daunting experience.
Tell it. We want to know what it was like.
Well, Glenna Salisbury, who was a former president and had presentation skills, I mean, getting up in front of 2,000 of your peers is a daunting task.
And
So-
they're all exceptional,
And
too.
they're all exceptional. So I called her up and I said, hey, can you help me with this? And she goes, sure. And I had the speech written out and all that, but then she asked me this question. She said, why are you not addressing the big elephant in the room?
What's the elephant?
My diction, my New York accent.
You have a New York accent?
Yeah, I know. I know it's hard for you to believe. Yeah, I get that.
I have a Hoosier accent,
Yeah.
so don't worry.
What? No. So anyway, I said, why? And she goes, because that's the emotional connection. You'll be vulnerable. And I didn't realize that vulnerability sells.
Vulnerability is what it's all about.
Vulnerability is where you're the most influential.
Right.
So I went back in my life and I realized, when I was a young boy in New York, I had a impediment.
I did too.
I couldn't enunciate words that started or had the letter R in it.
Oh no.
And what I can't understand is why the person who named it would give it the name of a word that starts with the letter R.
Right?
It was called rhoticism. I could only call it Oticism.
Oticism.
Anyway.
But your name.
Well, that was the other thing. And then my brilliant parents named me Ron Karr. I was doomed since the day I was born. Can you imagine not being able to say your name when you're a young kid? You know the bullying you get?
No.
Anyway, it was so painful, I decided to go find a coach and get rid of it. And now when it shows up sometimes when I'm tired, we just simply blame it on my New York accent.
Yes.
But yeah, that's when I discovered the velocity mindset, because I tried to fix it, but I wasn't committed. And then when I had more bullying, the purpose was very clear: stop the bullying. And when I had the passion around that, that's when I had the commitment to do what it took to get rid of it.
Practice, practice,
Practice.
practice.
So she says, tell that story. In the beginning. Really? So I did it.
Was this your acceptance speech?
My acceptance speech when I took the gavel. So anyway, I did it, and it went exceptionally well. Now, my next speech after that was with YPO Manufacturing. YPO is Young Presidents Organization.
Okay.
And it's CEOs and presidents of companies 10 million to 500 million.
Wow.
And she says, you're going to use that story, right? I go, no. She goes, why not? I said, you want me to use that story in front of 250 presidents and CEOs? Are you? Because I came from corporate America. I was like, all bottom line. Who the heck wants this?
Because they want to be moved. They want to be moved.
So I'm telling you, do it. I did it.
Right?
I can't tell you how many CEOs came up to me at the end and said, thank you for sharing that story. I went through the same thing.
Yeah, they think of themselves in the hero.
Exactly. And then, that connection was there.
Right.
So I do it now all the time.
I love it. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I also, in your presentation, I want to take a moment to acknowledge your mother and how powerful she was, and how you weave her story into your story and into the velocity mindset. Would you like to talk about your mom? She is pretty awesome.
Yeah. So I saw this commercial before I accepted the presidency in 2013 from Mazda about courage, creativity, and conviction. And I said, wow, those are great words. So I made that the theme of that speech. But then I said, but those words mean more to me than just, a car or, us as careers. It's the way my mother lived. She was a woman ahead of her time.
She was.
She commanded a battalion of 2,000 women in the War of Independence in Israel. Came in 1950 to the States. Was Golda Meir's secretary of the UN. Went to school at NYU at night. Graduated on time in 4 years with an economics degree. I couldn't graduate on time without a job.
Right.
And she had a full-time career. And then she became an economist. She'd be testifying on Congress on things like the Alaskan Oil Pipeline. People like Reagan would use her testimony to make decisions. She was very influential.
And what was the company that the bank she worked
Well,
for?
eventually she was working for Chase Manhattan Bank. So about close to the end of her career, she was senior vice president, and she goes to an executive cocktail party. Now, in the 60s, she applied for a job. The gentleman looked at her resume and says, wow, this is really powerful, but I'm sorry, this isn't a place for a woman. Well, at that cocktail party, who does she run into?
The guy.
That guy.
The guy. That guy.
30 years later.
Right?
And she looks at his name badge because she didn't remember his name. And she saw
Of course she didn't.
And she saw the title, and he was a few rungs on the ladder below her. So she went up to him. Paul, hi. And he looks at her name because he didn't remember her. Oh, Miriam, hey, how are you? I'm fine. Do you remember me in the conversation we had 30 years ago? He goes, why, I don't. Oh, well, let me remind you. You were interviewing me for this position. You said that it was no place for a woman. I just wanted to thank you. Shook his hand and smiled and walked away.
That's great. That's such a great story.
So she had conviction, right? Even when people were against her, she did. She also had creativity. How? Well, in corporate America, there's always reorganizations. They don't care about what you have done. They care about what you're going to do.
Right.
And women always got the short end still at that point. So in her last reorg, she said, you know, the South American countries have a lot of debt with the banks in the U.S. They can't pay it. What if I go to countries like Peru, have them ship their products out to, let's say, China? They pay for those products with their products. Eventually, money changes hand, and for every $3 Peru gets, they give $1 to Chase's bottom line and wipe off the debt.
Wow.
Do you think she was powerful then?
Yes, very powerful.
All right, so that's
And
great.
she empowered other people.
Right, and that's creativity. And you have to be able to have courage to take risks like that because there's no guarantee it's going to work.
Right.
So that's what I really got from my mom: creativity, courage, and conviction.
Conviction. Wow. You come from good stock.
Thank you.
Now, what's next for you? What are you're coaching a lot of executives
Right.
and entrepreneurs.
Right.
And where can they go to find you?
If they go to ronkarr.com and fill out a contact form, we'll get it, and I'll obviously call them back.
And that's Karr.
Right.
Right.
That's C.
And you do these weekly little videos that are
Yes.
wonderful. I'm a subscriber. I love them.
Yeah, the weekly 2.5-minute videos on velocity and certain stories that give you ideas of how to do it.
And tell me about using your leverage, about using your assets to get velocity.
One of the best ways to gain velocity is leverage. And what I'm talking about, let's suppose you're having a career in law, and you leave and you want to become a speaker, an entrepreneur, let's say, and you want to speak on rainmaking, let's say. Well, where do you go first? My place to go would be where I came from. The lawyers who I have the relationships with, who you can then go and leverage those relationships and say, hey, here's what I'm doing. Do you have any idea of who I should be talking to and who would be interested? That's the fastest way to get business. That's leverage. So you do the same thing on a dating site.
Okay, we are getting dating site velocity mindset.
Well, I mean, you got to leverage your assets on a dating site too, right? First, but first, what you got to do is you got to evaluate your assets to know what to leverage, right?
That's true. I think sometimes we don't take a simulation of our assets.
So I've gone on a few dates, and I keep hearing the same comments. I hear that I have the trifecta.
You do.
Right.
Give us the trifecta.
The trifecta is I got the hair.
You got the hair.
I got the
Yes.
teeth.
Yeah, you've got the teeth.
And I got these killer baby blue eyes.
Yes, you do.
That will melt. Well, we'll just stop right there.
And so that's the trifecta.
That's the trifecta.
Of raising your assets,
Right.
leveraging
so
your assets.
I make sure I wear the blue that brings out the blue in my eyes.
Right.
I make sure my hair is nicely combed so they can see it's the real deal.
Right.
My teeth are white, and I just let them do their job.
Okay. And so where can people get your book? Here, I have the book. It's The Velocity Mindset.
Right.
And where can they?
Amazon be the best place if they want.
So
Yeah,
Amazon?
Right on Amazon.
And if they want it signed, can they go to your website?
Absolutely.
Okay, ronkarr.com. And give me a few more tips in terms of, you know.
Do you know what really robs us of our velocity?
What?
I was
Collagen. Not having enough
What's
collagen.
you with collagen? No, what robs us of our velocity are the stories we create. Mm-hmm. All right. The best example I can give you is a teacher says to two kids in middle school, to the first kid, you shouldn't go out to band. It's not going to serve you well. Find out what you really love and do it. Mm-hmm. And so the second kid says the same thing. Mm-hmm. Kid number one has now a phobia with music, told that they suck, that's their story, it'll never work, and they never ever listen to music, they don't get near it because of that bad experience. Same kid as kid number two, told the same thing, but they have a different story going on. Their story is, well, I'm going to show them, and they have a chip on their shoulder, and they're going to become the best musician ever in the world. All right? So two different people hearing the same thing, but having two different stories. The second kid with the chip, if it serves him well, great, keep using it.
Right.
But if you're using it too much, and now people think you're a narcissist and it's all about you, then it could become a weakness. If the story with kid number one is not serving him well, then guess what?
What?
You have the power to change it because you wrote the story.
Right. That's true.
You're the author.
Right.
So
we are the authors of our own stories. I love that.
So what's stopping you from changing the story?
Right.
So stories, our stories, usually get in the way of our velocity.
I love it, Ron. This has just been an incredible time.
Thank you.
Great conversation.
Time
They
flew.
can go to ronkarr.com.
Right.
They can contact you for speaking gigs, for the Velocity Mindset. You can go to Amazon and get the Velocity Mindset. And you do private coaching.
Yes, I do.
For CEOs and entrepreneurs and people like that.
Absolutely.
It has been such a pleasure. Thank you
so
so
much.
Thank you. I am Quinn Lemley with Secrets of the Stage, and we air every Sunday night at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time on mnn.org, Channel 3. And I can't wait to see you. Come to quinnlemley.com and come to some of our concerts and so on. Until next time, I'm Quinn Lemley with Secrets of the Stage.